The Zephyrian dreadnought Dominion's will cast a jagged shadow across New Carthage's biodomes, its spiked hull blotting out the morning sun. Captain Elias Vance stood on the observation deck of Frontier's Edge, his fingers tightening around the railing as the alien warship's plasma cannons cycled to active status. The entire colony could fit inside one of its hangar bays. "Captain," Lieutenant Cho said from the comm station, "we're receiving a priority transmission. Dominion encryption protocols." Vance didn't turn from the viewport, put it through. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing High Prelate Sherthok in all his armored glory. The Zephyrian's chitinous faceplates shifted as he spoke, his translator implant rendering the clicks and hisses into perfect English. "Human vessel, this is your only warning. Your settlements occupy sacred Dominion space. By order of the Overlord Council, you have 72 standard hours to evacuate." Below them, New Carthage's farmers were already looking up, their hands shielding their eyes from the glare of the dreadnought's thrusters. Children playing near the hydroponic gardens froze mid-game, their laughter dying as teachers hurried them inside. Vance kept his voice steady. "High Prelate, these worlds were unclaimed when we settled them. The Galactic Concord Charter does not apply to primitive outposts," Sherthok interrupted. His compound eyes glinted under the bridge lights. "Your people scratch at the dirt like insects while the Dominion spans stars. Remove yourselves, or be removed." A soft chime signaled an incoming message on Vance's private channel. He tapped his wrist display subtly, reading the text that scrolled across. "Stand by for package delivery. Do not engage." Outwardly, Vance straightened his uniform jacket. "We'll need time to coordinate the evacuation. Our colony ships aren't equipped for—" "You have 3 rotations," Sherthok snapped. "Not 1 minute more." The transmission cut abruptly, leaving the bridge in sudden silence. The tactical officer, Commander Ruiz, swore under her breath. "Sir, even if we had every ship in the sector, we couldn't evacuate 10,000 people in 3 days." Vance turned to face his crew. "Start the protocols anyway. Full civilian recall, priority to children and medical cases." He lowered his voice. "And Ruiz, make sure the agricultural survey teams report in immediately." Outside, the dreadnought's weapon ports glowed faintly as they maintained targeting locks on New Carthage's infrastructure. The colony's fusion reactors, the water reclamation plant, the comm array, all painted with killbox indicators visible even from orbit. In the mess hall below decks, Ensign Petrovsky watched the dreadnought on the live feed, his dinner forgotten. "They can't just take our homes," he muttered to the engineer beside him. "We've been on New Carthage for 15 years. The engineer, an older woman with grease-stained coveralls, didn't look up from her tablet. "You new to the frontier, kid. The Dominion's been doing this since before your grandparents were born." She tapped the screen, bringing up schematics of the colony's foundation structures. "Difference is, this time they picked the wrong species to bully." Petrovsky frowned. "What is that supposed to?" "Ensign." A voice called from the doorway. "We're port to Cargo Bay 3. Immediate muster." As Petrovsky hurried out, the engineer allowed herself a small smile. Her fingers danced across the tablet, inputting a string of authorization codes. The screen flickered, revealing hidden submenus beneath the standard colony maintenance programs. One particular icon pulsed gently, a stylized bird with spread wings. Above them, the Dominion's will began deploying smaller craft, their angular shapes cutting through the atmosphere like knives. Scans would show them as observation drones, but every human on Frontier's Edge knew better. They were shock troops, preparing to enforce the eviction order when the timer ran out. Vance watched them descend from his ready room, where he'd retreated to compose the evacuation orders. His terminal beeped with an incoming secure transmission. The screen displayed only 2 words, "Package delivered." He allowed himself 1 deep breath before opening a colony-wide channel. "Attention all New Carthage residents. This is Captain Vance, pursuant to Dominion Directive. He hesitated, then deleted the prepared statement. Instead, he typed a new message, one that would bypass official channels and go straight to every personal device in the colony. Stand by for relocation. Do not resist Dominion forces. Remember your training. The response was immediate. Across the biodomes, men and women stopped packing their belongings. Farmers powered down equipment in precise sequences. School teachers gathered their students not toward the evacuation ships, but into reinforced basements, and beneath it all, in the colony substructure, massive engines that had lain dormant for 15 years began their activation sequences. The Concord Hall hummed with the low-frequency vibrations of 100 different species. Ambassador Lyra Chen adjusted the translator bud in her ear as she stepped onto the floating debate platform. The chamber stretched endlessly in all directions, its curved walls displaying star maps of known space. Bioluminescent perches glowed where the Vorak delegation lounged, their chitinous limbs draped over the edges like kings observing peasants. Senator Vexis clicked his mandibles in amusement as Lyra approached. "Ah, the soft skin returns," he said, his voice dripping with condescension. "Come to beg for more time." Lyra kept her expression neutral. "I'm here to remind the Concord of the Galactic Charter. Article 12 guarantees." A ripple of laughter cut her off. Vexis waved a clawed hand. "Guarantees what? Protection for your pathetic little huts." He leaned forward, his compound eyes reflecting the chamber's light. "Your settlements are temporary. The Dominion has ruled this sector for millennia. You will comply or be erased." Murmurs of agreement spread through the assembled delegates. A Sorelian diplomat floated nearby, their orb like eyes pulsing with amusement. "Really, Ambassador, did you expect sympathy? Your species barely qualifies as spacefaring." Lyra clenched her fists but didn't rise to the bait. She tapped her wrist display, projecting a hologram of New Carthage, its domes, its fusion reactors, the children playing in the hydroponic gardens. "These are not temporary structures. These are homes, families. You're asking us to abandon them because of some ancient claim." Vexis snorted. "Ancient, try sacred. The Zephyrian birthworld lies beneath your filthy colonies. You defile holy ground with your presence." "That's a lie," Lyra said flatly. "Our surveys show no evidence of Zephyrian ruins. This is about resources. The Dominion wants the lithium deposits under our feet." The chamber fell silent. Vexis' mandibles twitched. Then he laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "Even if that were true, what will you do? Cry to your pitiful fleet? Your ships are toys compared to the Dominion's might." Lyra didn't blink. "We don't need a fleet to defend our homes." More laughter. A Thalassian delegate, their gelatinous form rippling with mirth, chimed in. "Oh, will you throw rocks at the dreadnoughts?" Lyra ignored them. She turned to the Concord Arbiter, a towering Octavian whose tentacles flicked impatiently. "Arbiter, I invoke the right of appeal. The Dominion's claim must be verified by neutral surveyors." The Arbiter's voice boomed. "Denied. The Dominion's records are sufficient. You have 72 hours to comply." Vexis smirked. 72 hours, soft skin. "Then we scrape your settlements off our worlds." Lyra didn't move. She tapped her display again. This time, the hologram showed the USN Frontier's edge, small, outdated, dwarfed by the Dominion's warships. "You're making a mistake," she said quietly. Vexis waved her off. "Your bravado is tiresome. Run along now. Pack your things." As Lyra turned to leave, a Vorak aide whispered something to Vexis. The senator's laughter followed her out. "Oh, Ambassador, one more thing." She paused. Vex's voice dripped with mock concern. "Do try to keep your people in line. We'd hate to have to clean up any stragglers." The doors hissed shut behind her. The corridor outside was empty. Lyra exhaled, then tapped her comm. Admiral Holt, they're not budging. Holt's voice crackled back. Then we move to Phase 2. Tell the colonies to prep for relocation. Lyra allowed herself a small smile. Understood. She glanced back at the Concord Hall's sealed doors. Let them laugh now. They wouldn't be laughing for long. The comm channel hissed to life in Admiral Kira Holt's private quarters aboard the USN Atlas. The holographic display flickered, projecting the grim faces of her senior staff. Commander Rook's synthetic voice cut through the silence first. Analysis complete, Admiral. The Dominion's ultimatum leaves us with a fey chance of successful conventional defense. Holt leaned forward, her fingers steepled. And the Nomad Initiative? Rook's glowing eyes pulsed. Operational readiness at Fei. All primary and secondary systems report nominal function. Across the table, Colonel Velt of the Engineering Corps wiped sweat from his brow. Admiral, with all due respect, this is insane. We're talking about retrofitting entire cities with warp drives and weapon systems. The energy requirements alone were calculated 12 years ago. Holt interrupted. She tapped her console, and schematics flooded the display. Dr. Voss' team has been preparing for this since the first Superior scout ship entered our territory. Those settlements were never meant to stay planet-side. A junior lieutenant, barely out of the academy, cleared his throat. Sir, what about the civilians? We can't just... Evacuation protocols are already underway, Holt said. Her voice didn't waver. Every man, woman, and child in New Carthage has been drilling for this scenario since birth. They know the stakes. Silence settled over the room. Outside the viewport, the distant glint of New Carthage's domes shimmered against the planet's curve. It looked peaceful, vulnerable. Rook broke the quiet. Dominion forces have begun mobilization. Preliminary scans indicate 3 additional dreadnoughts en route to reinforce Sherthok's position. Holt stood. Then we don't have time to debate. Commander, activate protocol Longshore. Authorization Holt 7, Niner. Zulu. Rook's eyes flared crimson. Confirmed, transmitting activation codes to all Nomad-class assets. The deck beneath them thrummed as the Atlas engines roared to life. Alarms blared through the ship, and Holt's console lit up with frantic updates. New Carthage control reports all systems green. Modular grid separation initiated. Primary thrusters online. Belt stared at the readouts, his face pale. God almighty, they're really doing it. Holt allowed herself a grim smile. You're damn right they are. Her fingers flew across the console, opening a fleet-wide channel. Every ship, every station, every last human in the sector would hear what came next. This is Admiral Kira Holt, United Earth Stellar Navy Command to the Galactic Dominion. You have demanded our evacuation. You have called our homes temporary. You have threatened our people with extinction. She paused. The silence stretched. Humanity does not abandon its homes. A single keystroke. We relocate them. Deep within New Carthage's core, ancient mechanisms groaned to life. Fusion reactors flared as magnetic clamps disengaged. The city's foundations, massive hexagonal platforms, began to rise, shedding dirt and rock like a snake shedding skin. On the surface, civilians didn't panic, they moved. Children were herded into reinforced transit pods. Engineers sprinted to their stations. Defense teams manned turrets that had been hidden beneath flower beds and playgrounds. High above, Sherthok's sensors went wild. Prelate. His tactical officer screeched. The human settlement, it's... The Zephyrian warlord whirled to the viewport, just in time to see New Carthage's entire eastern sector detach from the planet. Then the western, then the northern. Giant thrusters erupted from beneath the city's streets. Their plasma burned so bright it blinded Dominion sensors for 3 full seconds. When the glare cleared, New Carthage was no longer a settlement. It was a warship, 1,000 warships. Modular segments reconfigured in mid-air, locking together in new deadly configurations. Railguns unfolded from disguised housing. Missile silos yawned open where parks once stood. And then, with a thunderclap that shook the atmosphere itself, New Carthage punched a hole in reality and vanished into warp. Sherthok's mandibles clicked uselessly. His tactical officer collapsed into his chair. The human transmission repeated on every channel, in every language, across the entire sector. We relocate them. Aboard the Atlas. Holt turned to Rook. Status. The ace voice carried something almost like pride. Phase 1 complete. All Nomad assets report successful transition, awaiting further orders. Holt exhaled. The hardest part was over. Now came the fun. The comm channel crackled with static as the Dominion frigate Blade of Submission descended toward New Carthage. Its plasma cannons hummed with barely restrained energy, casting an eerie blue glow across the colony's domes. On the bridge of the Dominion's will, High Prelate Sherthok watched through the viewport, his chitinous fingers tapping impatiently against the command throne. Pathetic, he muttered to his tactical officer. Look at them scrambling like insects. They should have fled the moment we arrived. Below, the humans moved in orderly lines, loading crates onto transports. Too orderly, Sherthok's crest twitched. Something felt off on the surface. Captain Elias Vance stood beside a flickering holodisplay, watching the frigate's approach. His fingers danced across the screen, inputting one final command. Lieutenant Diaz, status. The pilot's voice crackled in his earpiece. Sparrowhawks in position, Captain, just say the word. Vance smirked. Oh, we're way past words. Aboard the Blade of Submission, Commander Krelix sneered as his targeting systems locked onto the colony's central hub. Prelate, requesting permission to fire warning shots. Let them taste our resolve. Sherthok waved a dismissive hand. Proceed, but leave their pathetic shelters intact. The Dominion is merciful. Krelix nodded. Firing now. The frigate's cannons flared. Nothing happened, Krelix blinked. What? Then the Frontier's edge moved. The unassuming supply ship parked near the colony's landing pad shuddered. Then its hull split open. Armor plating folded back like petals, revealing a spinal, mounted plasma lance the size of a city block. The weapon hummed to life, its core glowing white-hot. On the Dominion's will, alarms shrieked. Sherthok shot to his feet. What is that? Vance's voice cut through the comms, calm as a surgeon's scalpel. You wanted us gone, Prelate. Let me show you how we do evacuations. The Frontier's edge fired. The Blade of Submission didn't even have time to scream. The plasma lance punched through its shields like paper, vaporizing the entire starboard flank. The frigate listed sideways, its engines sputtering, before exploding in a silent fireball. Sherthok's mandibles clicked in fury. All ships, engage, crush them. But the humans weren't done. Lieutenant Diaz Sparrowhawk streaked past the wreckage, its wings unfolding into a full combat configuration. Missile pods slid free from hidden compartments. Fox 3, he yelled, unleashing a salvo. The missiles arced toward the Dominion's will, then detonated early, scattering chaff across its sensors. Sherthok snarled. They're blinding us, where? Then the ground moved. New Carthage's central dome shuddered. Then rose, the entire colony detached from the planet's surface, in a cascade of falling debris, massive thrusters igniting beneath its foundations. Buildings folded inward, streets retracting as the colony transformed into something sleek, angular, predatory. Sherthok's blood ran cold. No, no. Vance's laughter echoed over the comms. Surprise, we don't build settlements. Prelate, we build sleeper ships, the colony. Now a warship spun gracefully, its newly revealed railguns locking onto the remaining Dominion vessels. On the Sparrowhawk, Diaz whooped. Hell yeah, Colonies got teeth. Vance's voice turned deadly serious. All units warp jump in 10. Let's show the Dominion what happens when they try to evict us. The Frontier's Edge's engines flared, the Colonies' thrusters roared, and then, in a flash of light, New Carthage vanished, leaving only an empty crater where a city once stood. Sherthuk stared at the void where the humans had been. His claws dug into the armrests of his throne. Track them. Find them. His sensor officer trembled. Prelate, we can't. Their warp signature. It's gone. Silence fell across the bridge. Somewhere in the dark, Vance's final transmission played on loop. You wanted us gone. Congratulations. Now try catching us. The Dominion fleet floated above a dead world, their prey already light years away. Dr. Ilara Voss wiped grease from her forehead as she monitored the final diagnostics. The control center of Elysium Station hummed with activity, engineers scrambling to complete the last checks before activation. The former agricultural hub now bristled with weapon emplacements and reinforced armor plating, its once peaceful greenhouses converted into missile silos. Reactor output stable, reported one of her assistants, his voice tight with excitement. Thrusters at Fey capacity. Ilara nodded, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. Bring the warp core online gently. We don't want to tear the station apart on our first jump. A klaxon blared as the station's massive engines flared to life. The deck plates vibrated beneath her boots, the entire structure groaning as it prepared to break free from its planetary moorings. Outside the viewports, the sky of New Carthage's sister colony began to tilt as Elysium lifted itself from the surface. All systems nominal, Ilara announced. Initiate primary thrust. The station shuddered, then rose with surprising grace, its massive repulsors carving glowing scars into the earth below. Within minutes, it had cleared the atmosphere, joining the growing fleet of mobile colonies already in orbit. Varak Scout Captain Zirix adjusted the magnification on his long-range sensors, his chitinous plates clicking in irritation. The Dominion had sent him to monitor the human evacuation, expecting to find pathetic refugee ships limping toward the nearest neutral system. Instead, his scanners showed something impossible. Rear port, he snapped at his subordinate. The junior scout's antennae twitched nervously. Captain, the human settlement. Elysium Station, it's moving under its own power. Zirix leaned closer to the display. The agricultural outpost, once a cluster of domes and solar arrays, had transformed. Reinforced armor plating now covered its surface, and what had been irrigation towers now pulsed with the unmistakable glow of plasma cannons. Impossible, Zirix muttered. That's a battle station. His comms officer suddenly stiffened. Captain, multiple new contacts. Other human colonies are detaching from their planets. Zirix's stomach churned as the scope filled with icons. Dozens of settlements, mining outposts, research stations, even what had appeared to be simple farming communities were breaking orbit, their profiles shifting as hidden weapons systems deployed. Open a channel to High Command, Zirix ordered, his voice uncharacteristically shaky. Tell them the human settlements are. A proximity alert screamed through the bridge. Before Zirix could react, Elysium Station's main batteries swiveled toward his scout ship. A single warning shot lanced past his bow, close enough to scorch the hull. A human voice crackled over the comm. This is Dr. Ilara Voss of the United Earth Nomad Initiative. You are trespassing in sovereign human space. Withdraw immediately. Zirix's mandibles worked soundlessly for a moment before he found his voice. This is a violation of the Concord Accords. Mobile weapons platforms are, where prohibited, Ilara corrected. Elysium was registered as a civilian agricultural station. The Accords don't specify what crops were allowed to grow. The channel closed with a finality that made Zirix's carapace crawl. On the view screen, Elysium's massive railguns tracked his ship as it slowly pivoted toward the jump point. "Get us out of here," Xerix whispered. "Full retreat." As his ship fled, the last thing he saw was Elysium Station activating its warp drive, the entire colossal structure vanishing in a flash of blue light, followed by a dozen others. Admiral Holt watched the reports flood in from her command chair aboard the USN Atlas. The holographic display showed the entire sector lighting up as colony after colony went mobile, their transponders blinking from defensive positions across the system. "Status?" she asked Commander Rook. The AI's avatar shimmered into existence beside her. "Nomad Initiative Phase 2 is proceeding at Fei efficiency. 73% of registered colonies have achieved full mobility. The remainder will complete conversion within 6 hours." Holt allowed herself a small smile. "And the Dominion? Their scout ships are withdrawing en masse. Preliminary analysis suggests they are attempting to regroup near the Zarathustra Nebula." "Let them," Holt said. "They wanted us gone from their sacred space. Now they'll learn the hard way. Humanity doesn't need planets to build an empire." Outside the viewports, another colony, this one a former ice mining outpost, detonated its planetary anchors and rose into the void, its freshly installed missile batteries glinting in the starlight. On the bridge of the Dominion's will, High Prelate Sherthok stared at the tactical display in mounting horror. What had begun as a simple eviction had become a nightmare. The human settlements weren't just leaving, they were multiplying, their numbers swelling as hidden shipyards in the asteroid belts disgorged more converted colonies. "Bring the fleet to full alert," he ordered, his voice hollow, "and contact the Concord. Tell them we may have miscalculated." His communications officer hesitated. "Prelate, what should we classify this threat as?" Sherthok watched as another human station, this one nearly the size of a moon, vanished into warp. "Call it what it is," he whispered. "A migration." The Dominion fleet emerged from warp in perfect formation, their golden hulls gleaming against the black. High Prelate Sherthok stood on the command deck of Dominion's will, his 4 arms clasped behind his back. The planet below New Carthage's former location was a scarred wasteland of empty docking clamps and abandoned infrastructure. "Scan the system," Sherthok ordered, his voice a low growl. "Find them." The tactical officer's claws danced across the holographic display. "No energy signatures on the surface, Prelate. No life signs. The colony is gone." Sherthok's crest flared crimson. Impossible. Even if they fled, there would be debris traces. A chime sounded from the comms array. The officer stiffened. Prelate were detecting multiple warp signatures, not from the planet, from the asteroid belt. The main viewer flickered to life, zooming in on the jagged rocks drifting between worlds. At first, nothing, then movement, shadows uncoiling from the asteroids, shedding camouflage nets and thermal dampeners. Ships. No, not just ships. "By the void," whispered the tactical officer. New Carthage hung in the blackness, its dome-covered surface now bristling with weapon turrets. Thrusters flared along its underbelly, maneuvering it with impossible grace for something so massive. And around it, dozens more. Elysium Station, Haven's Reach, all the settlements the Dominion had tried to evict, each one armed, each one mobile. Sherthok's claws dug into his command chair, open a channel to the human flagship. Static crackled, then cleared. Admiral Kira Holt's face appeared on screen, her lips curled in a smirk. "Prelate, come to check on the eviction?" "You deceived us," Sherthok spat. "These were never settlements." Holt leaned forward. "Oh, they were. We just never planned to stay where you put us." A new alert blared. The tactical officer's voice shook. "Prelate, sensors detect more signatures. The other systems, Tarsis, Vega, all the colonies we ordered, evacuated. They're gone too, and their warp trails lead." Here, Sherthok's crest darkened to near black. On the viewer, pinpricks of light flared as more human constructs emerged from warp. Not just colonies, shipyards, refineries, entire factories, now floating free, their docking arms bristling with fighters. Holt's smile didn't waver. You wanted us gone from your precious worlds, fine, but you made one mistake. The tactical display updated. Red icons bloomed, not just in the belt, but behind the Dominion fleet above it. Below Sherthok's stomachs twisted as he realized the truth. You didn't just relocate your people, he whispered. Holt's eyes hardened. We relocated our empire. The comms crackled again, a new voice. Lieutenant Diaz from the Sparrowhawk, his tone cheerful. Hey, prelate. You know how you guys love claiming sacred ground. A pause. Turns out space is all sacred to us. Alarms shrieked as targeting locks flooded the Dominion fleet. Sherthok whirled to his officers. Shields evasive. Holt's voice cut through the chaos. You get one warning, stand down, or learn why humanity never builds on planets we can't move. The tactical officer turned, his frills pale with terror. Prelate their weapons. They're not just armed, they're warp capable. The implication hung in the air. These weren't just cities with guns. They were planet killers that could disappear before retaliation. Sherthok's mandibles clicked once. Slowly, for the first time in his century of conquest, the High Prelate of the Zeperian Dominion felt fear. Holt watched him sweat. Tick-tock, Prelate, your move. Outside, the human fleet waited, silent, patient, and everywhere at once. The silence in the Concord Hall was thicker than neutronium armor. Every floating platform had stilled. Every delegate from 100 species leaned forward, their appendages twitching, their sensory organs locked onto the human standing at the center. Lyra Chen didn't blink. She didn't fidget. She simply held the data crystal between her fingers, letting it catch the chamber's dim light. Senator Vex's mandibles clicked in agitation. His bioluminescent frills darkened from their usual arrogant violet to an uneasy gray. This is theatrics, he hissed, though his voice lacked its usual venom. The Dominion does not bow to Lyra dropped the crystal. It hit the floor with a sound like shattering glass. A holographic star map exploded outward, painting the chamber in blue and gold. Worlds, dozens of them, each one marked with the sigil of the United Earth Systems Navy, each one pulsing with active weapons signatures. You called them settlements, Lyra said. Her voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. We call them the New Frontier. The map zoomed in. Elysium Station, once a farming outpost, now bristled with enough railgun batteries to crack a moon. New Carthage floated in high orbit over the Zeperian homeworld, its thrusters cold, its guns hot. And there, hanging like a dagger over Vorak Prime, was the USN Atlas, its AI core humming with targeting solutions. Vexis stumbled back, his carapace rattled. This is impossible. Your colonies were barely space. Worthy, you had no shipyards. No, Admiral Holt's face flickered to life on the hollow. She stood on the bridge of the Atlas, her arms crossed, her smile sharp. You never asked why our settlements were so small, Senator, or why we built them on tectonic plates instead of fertile ground. A murmur rippled through the chamber. The Cerulean delegates' floating orbs pulsed crimson with realization. They were never meant to stay. Lyra nodded. The Nomad Initiative began 70 years ago. Every colony we planted was designed from the ground up to move, to fight, to survive. She tapped the hollow, and the map shifted again, showing the empty planets where human settlements had once stood. You wanted us gone, fine, but you don't get to choose where we go. High Prelate Sherthok's image flickered into the feed, his spiked crest flaring in rage. This is an act of war. The Dominion will what? Holt interrupted. Her voice was ice. You're looking at 43 fully armed mobile fortresses, each one capable of glassing a city, each one crewed by people who just watched you try to evict their families. She leaned closer to the feed. You declared our home's sacred space. Funny thing about sacred space, prelate, it burns just like everything else. The chamber erupted. The Vorak delegates screeched. The Zeperian contingent signaled for emergency recall. Only the human platforms remained steady, their representatives silent, their faces unreadable. Lyra waited for the chaos to peak. Then she raised a hand. The holo changed one last time. A single message scrolled across the star map, repeating in every major galactic dialect, "The frontier is where we stand. Try moving us again." Vexis collapsed onto his perch. His frills had gone utterly dark. Lyra turned and walked toward the exit. No one stopped her. No one even spoke. Behind her, the holo winked out, leaving only the echo of Holt's final transmission crackling through the Concorde's ancient speakers. "Welcome to the new rules, senators," humanity wrote them. Outside, the stars burned cold and bright. Somewhere among them, 43 human worlds adjusted their trajectories, waiting, watching, armed.